designer who managed to design a couple hundred different products over the years and worked on mobile products that were hundreds of screens each. Some people might be wondering, what phone do I use daily? Is it the newest iPhone or the newest Android phone? A folding phone, something like that? Well, let's go back to 2007 when I was watching the first iPhone keynote, and I was just so blown away by this, that new paradigm, that new user interface, that new pattern. And I knew back then that this is gonna redefine the world. And since the first iPhone, the iPhone 2G, wasn't even available in Poland to purchase in any possible way, I bought a British version of it with like some sort of weird SIM lock removing doohickey that kind of was really difficult to use. Yeah, you required like a lot of hassle. Yeah, so hey, an update is here, but yeah, I'm not gonna download it probably because it's gonna break my SIM lock breaker. So I jumped through some crazy hoops to get my first iPhone to work, and I was really happy with it. I started doing some simple, smaller website for it back then, and pretty much since then I fell in love with the iPhone, and I was upgrading every year, mostly for professional reasons. I needed the newest phone. But when the iPhone 10 came out a couple years ago, I realized that first of all, the smartphones aren't really progressing as much, and it's not really necessary to buy anything newer than that. And after a while I also realized one other thing. I realized the smartphones have taken a lot of our lives from us, and we do have many different phones at Hype for testing purposes, of course, but what is my daily phone? What's the phone that I'm using every day? Well, it's not an iPhone anymore, and I switched to something a little bit different. So the Light phone is a super simple, minimal e-ink kind of phone that only has a couple of options that you can use. Mainly the phone, which also serves as a messages part, an alarm clock, a calculator, and you can also have a Wi-Fi hotspot from this. So when I'm carrying my computer, I can keep this in my pocket all the time, and my computer can get Wi-Fi when I need it. But it helps a lot because I can't really pull out my phone in every possible situation, like a social situation or just walking around. If I want to get online, I need to take my laptop out of my backpack. So the phone is just for calling, and it's for messaging and sometimes for alarms, but I don't really use alarms that much anymore. But ever since this came out, I fell in love with both the form factor, the screen, even the interface, which is like super minimal, just plain text based, very readable, very user-friendly really. And it turns out that you don't really need all those fancy colors and all those icons and all that to have a beautiful device that you can really enjoy using, and at the same time it respects you. It doesn't really take your attention away from the important things in life. So as a designer who's still making a lot of different apps, I do have an iPhone that's just on the desk, and it's used as my sketch mirror for mirroring the app that I'm designing at the moment, so I can see it on the phone. But I'm carrying this little guy around all the time, and I'm really happy with this. It's definitely something a little bit different, but it keeps you a little bit more focused as well. I realized not having a smartphone nowadays is, first of all, it's a great conversation starter, but at the same time it's actually making me a lot more productive because I'm working on the iPhone when it's needed as a tool, but I'm not really using social media all that much. I'm not browsing, and I'm not infinitely scrolling feeds. So that gives me a lot more time to work on things that I really care about instead of just scrolling away. So what do I do for music? I don't have Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that on the Light phone. So yeah, I came back to this little guy. It's a 5th generation iPod Video from 2005, I guess, or 2004. And I modded it. I kind of replaced the battery and replaced the old hard drive with 128GB SSD myself. They're pretty easy to modify, and they're pretty easy to actually have a full library of all your albums in your pocket just as advertised before. Yeah, this is really cool, and I'm gonna do another episode just on the iPods and how you can mod them, how you can create your own personal music library that's very small, light, and it actually lasts for like 30 hours of playback now. So I ripped all my CDs into this, and it still has plenty of room for more. And yeah, I realized it's much better to just buy music now instead of streaming it mindlessly. We'll come back to the iPods in another video, and for now I really recommend you check out the Lightphone, because it's also a good way to check out how the text-based, really simple interfaces can be a really cool exercise, because with just typography and a couple different font sizes you can create a compelling experience without any visuals. Because if you're able to do something very minimal, something just so simple, which still looks great, then it means that you can make a good design out of anything. And with the Lightphone, even the unboxing experience is actually really cool, really thought out and very nicely done. So for a small startup, it's really cool to see that they put all that attention to detail into the product and made something very honest with you. It's just a phone, but it's supposed to be just a phone, but also it looks very nice, and I like that. Okay, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Check out our book, and see you next time. Cheers.